So, Pete, I think we'll come over to you and see if there's any questions from the chat room.
Yeah, I think you've covered most of what was asked, actually. But Anton says, that's his full name, Anton says, what does Mike measure as a success for the film? Don't let him in.
What does he measure as a success?
Yeah.
What would you measure? Yeah,
I would say if I made money back for the investors, I'd be happy.
Right.
What industry on the planet would be happy with just making their money back for a movie?
With not losing money. That would be considered a success.
If I could make them, because the thing is, with what happens with the distributors are that they give you minimum guarantees. So if I can give their money back in minimum guarantees, this film is successful. You know, whether it does well or brilliantly or whatever, if I can just do that, I can fund the next film, because hopefully minimum guarantees aren't the end of the income, and a year from now they make more money and they buy into the next film, and it creates momentum. So I think an answer to the question, making the money back for the investors.
Okay, any other questions, Pete?
Yeah, one more, again from the same guy actually. Similarities between internet marketing and producing. Can website developers like me produce?
Well, I am one, so yes. I mean, the thing is, although I was the founder of WordTracker, I actually worked and created the website and the back end for it, and I designed the Don't Let Him In site and also various other sites. So I am a web developer as well, and I love it. And that coding mentality applies to productions. Very similar, actually, and I love it. You know. Well, I'm actually co-producer on this film, to be absolutely clear.
Right.
So.
I got a question from Twitter earlier, ScriptPunk, who I think got a question earlier. How can social media help you sell a script or get in front of a producer to pitch?
I tell you what I would do. I would do this. I think I'd go to Twitter and I would follow producers that I liked. And I might say something like, let's say there was a film I liked and I had watched it and I wasn't just bullshitting. What I would do is I would comment on the movie. I'd say, I really like this movie, I like the style of the thing you're doing, I really like this, and I've got a similar idea, would you be interested? So again, I'm adding value to the discussion, especially if the filmmaker themselves has tweeted about their film. So let's say Simon Pegg has talked about Paul, you know, and I've seen Paul and I said, that was really good, that bit when that happened, and I got a similar bit in my script. That might start a conversation. So I think social media is building conversations that go to places like your home, your blog. That's how I would do it. So it's not disingenuous, it's just you're adding to the conversation.
And do you think there's a line that you go over which, you know, I'm a crazy person now and I'm now a stalker?
Yes, definitely. So don't do that. Don't be a nutter.
Okay, well, my final two questions, which I always ask everyone. What mistakes have you made? Specifically on your film, I think.
Yeah, I tell you what, this is a mistake. I think this will really help. I tried to bring the whole film together the day before it was ready to be sent to the sales agent. So I had about 10 different areas, and they all had to come together on this day. And of course they didn't. And it was a complete disaster. So if I have one bit of advice, Chris, it's try and bring your whole film together 1 or even 2 months before the deadline. Because everything that collapses, like, you know, score that doesn't work, all this kind of stuff, can be solved in the 2 months that follow when you try and bring it together again. I think that is pretty useful stuff. And the second thing I'd say, I actually have it here, is make sure that, you know, you come up with a premise, a logline and a synopsis, you do the work. I'm a big fan of Save the Cat, by the way, if anyone's interested. And that helps you with that. And finally, another thing that's really helpful is having a cash flow forecast. And just in a nutshell, just put your suppliers down the left-hand side, and in each column have a week, and then as you go along you can actually say this supplier owe money there, there and there, and then do the same for your income, and that way you can actually measure your cash flow week to week and work out when you're losing money, because then you can say a month in advance, okay, I'm going to get an investor for that period, and it allows you to you know, work 1 to 3 months in advance to allow that you don't end up out of pocket.
Right.
The worst thing you can do is end up with no money, and it nearly happened if I hadn't have done this.
Right. Okay. And final question then: what advice would you offer a filmmaker? One piece of advice: life advice, filmmaking, web advice, anything.
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 things. 2 for the price of 1. Number 1, whatever you do, if you're starting out, hit genre. Don't make a drama. Drama isn't a genre. You know, go with a horror, thriller, whatever. Choose a genre, stick in that. There are buyers, there are sellers in those markets. Do the same. twist it around a bit to make it a little bit different. I think that's really important if you're starting out, you know. Work with the stuff that works, the stories that people love, and that way you're targeting a market that already exists. You're not just coming up with something random. And I know a lot of people say this, but it's just true. And finally, a lot of people say this, but it's just true. Just do it. Do the movie. Create your movie. Get on with it. Make your feature. Stop. And every little thing helps. Every incremental step helps, you know. When Kelly brought his rough cut to me, that got me on board. Before that, if I hadn't seen the rough cut, no movie. Every little bit helps and helps build all the other bits. And that's all I got to say.
Fantastic. Well, listen, Mike, thank you very much for your wisdom. We'll